Welcome. Hello, everybody. So thrilled that you're here. And if you're not here live, thank you for watching the replay. We have a really exciting program planned for you, all led by my friend, Mary Williams. That's the librarian-led part of the discussion in the title. So in a moment, I'm going to introduce Mary and talk about all the amazing things she does to support me and my business and why I'm so thrilled that she's here to support you and your business too. But before I do, I'd first like to introduce Jen. Jen Bernardi is a certified virtual event professional, and she is producing today's show and will give you some pointers about how we plan to use the Zoom technology to create a great experience. Jen, take it away.
Hi, folks. Okay, just a few tips on how to use Zoom so that your experience is optimal. You mostly just need to know 3 buttons. All of the buttons are on your toolbar at the bottom of the screen. The first button you need to know is mute. It's all the way to the left. Mute is self-explanatory. Second button you need to know is chat, pretty much in the middle. You want to open that chat window right now. Just click on chat and it will open right up. That's how we're going to sort of converse with each other together. If you would like to ask a question and it's not on topic, it's not a prompt that Mary has just given you, write it in the chat. We ask that you write the question and preface it with the word question in all capital letters so that we can see it really easily when we scan through the chat. And the last button that you need to know right over here is reactions. If you click on reactions now, you'll find that you can put different emojis up in the corner. I've been doing love, I've been doing shack, you can too. But the most important thing is raise hand. That allows you to electronically raise your hand. And if you have a response to a prompt that Mary has given you about the book, you raise your hand and unmute yourself, and you will be able to share almost as if we were in the same room. I also want to point out that there is a CC button that stands for closed captions. If you would like a transcript or captions, click on that. And finally, on Zoom, we like to use American Sign Language to encourage each other. So if you can give some applause in American Sign Language, that is jazz hands. All right, we are applauding you, Robbie. Take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure to tell you a little bit more about Mary Williams. So Mary is my book launch success manager. And in the past year, we're about to actually hit a year anniversary, I think. She has been my systems and processes coach. And we met while we were both working at Miracy, and we really witnessed firsthand the many common mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they're either first launching a business or perhaps moving from a one-on-one coaching model to a group program. And what I love about working together is that she believes that the sensible and practical sides of life meshes perfectly with what she called the woo-woo side of life. And as a heart-centered entrepreneur myself, I could just really appreciate her point of view and love everything she brings to my business. So she is the Chief Technology Therapist at Sensible Woo. She teaches highly sensitive and neurodivergent online business owners how to replace technological chaos with a harmonious technology system. She's an accredited librarian with a Master of Science in Information and set the foundation of her career as the first digital archivist for Disney Animation Studios. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Mary and have her give some ground rules for how we're going to do today's discussion.
Thanks, Robbie. Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces in the room. It's good to see you. All right, so ground rules. So like Robbie said, before I was ever his systems and process coach, I started out as a librarian, a real one. And as we do in libraries, we like to talk about books, and book clubs are a very common way for us to get together and share perspectives and ideas and really process the things that, we're digesting through our brain spaces. So the number one ground rule we'll put down today is just to make space for each other's thoughts. Book clubs really are places where we can be safe so we can explore different perspectives and ideas. So somebody might be doing some work where you're like, yeah, I wouldn't do that, or I don't know. Our place is not to judge it, it's to be inclusive. and to really consider, like, how does this help inform me of what I'm going through? And book clubs are that safe space for that. So my other bit of advice, which is just kind of good general networking advice and relationship building advice, is don't hog the mic if you're a talker. And if you tend to hesitate a lot and you're really slow to raise your hand, I encourage you to go just a little bit quicker than you normally would and go for it. And then just a friendly reminder that if you do have a question that's outside of the topic that I prompt you with, don't be afraid to follow Jen's prompt, which is type question in all caps in the chat, put that question in there, and then that way we can help you. Okay, great. Are we? Oh, I'm spotlighted. Hello. Okay. All right, Robbie.
Yeah.
So your book really, really helps all of us figure out how we are going to reach our network better so we can launch those offers and have better results. So the first question in our book club prompts for everyone here, ask yourself, how do you see yourself reflected in the stories of Robbie's clients? One of the really, really great things that Robbie's done in this book is taken real stories from real people, and he's peppered them throughout the text so that you can get context for not just somebody, telling you, rah, 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 here's the formula, but here's somebody who really did it, and that can really inform you of things. So I see, Tom, you already have your hand raised. Would you like to share?
Sure. So interesting thing, I'm definitely not in Robbie's target client group, but I'm finding the book's really resonating with me, and specifically actually Robbie's stories of his own journey as he built his business, as he talked about having so many different opportunities and trying to choose which ones to focus on. I find myself doing the same thing. So it just really helps remind me, you need to focus, you need to choose, you can't do everything at one time. So that's been very, very resonant with me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that, Tom, you may not have been who I was writing to, but it shows that people it's like a fortune cookie. We can take what we want and need from it and apply it to our own life. So that's a great illustration of that. Thank you for raising your hand. I see that Sheila also raised her hand, and we encourage others to do so as well. Sheila, why don't you join us?
Hi, Robbie. Yeah, I really connected with that portion of the book where you talked about distractions and all the little shiny objects that are presented in front of us, and maybe they're interesting, and I guess as a learner, a lifelong learner, that really spoke to me. So I was like, okay, I really have to minimize the distractions.
Or the idea of noble obstacles that I learned from the book Finish. And when I learned that, I was like, oh, that's why it's so hard. Because like, it's clear you shouldn't be surfing Facebook all day. But like when you're deciding whether or not to, update your website or launch a podcast or something like that, you're like, I should do this for my business. Oh, it might be a noble obstacle that's getting in the way of what I need to be doing right now. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And I see we have Axel has also raised their hand.
Yeah, hi, Robbie. Two things kind of connected with me. The one about kind of what I would, in my own words, call imposter syndrome, which is kind of connected to fear of letting go. Because on the one hand, I've been doing stuff where I see what you wrote as, signs of success. And on the other hand, it's not really anymore particularly passionate, but the stuff that I know I'm passionate about, I'm afraid to really fully commit because of, I know the other stuff that I'm not really sure I'm as good as people say I am pays well. So I'm really encouraged to say, you know what, and I'm in that group, even though I'm not a woman, but in that age group. But, so where I would say, you know what, I should actually do it, and I can afford it. It's really silly to say, I'm only doing this stuff I'm not passionate about because of the money.
Thank you so much. I want to mention that one of the reasons we decided to do this book club was that we knew we wanted to give people a chance to both read the book, reflect on the book, and that not everyone would get to it right away. I mean, those of you who clearly read the book, thank you for getting to it. As you notice, it's a pretty quick read. The work is really in doing it. But we are asking folks to send us reviews. And so Jen's going to post a little reminder about how to do that in the Google form. And what I'm noticing so far is that we've had a mixture of men and women. So I love that it's resonating. Even though you write a book with an audience in mind, it doesn't exclude other people from gaining something from it. I just think that when you're first creating something, it's important to have an idea of who you're writing or creating this for. And then it could always expand to a bigger market than that. So I love that we're hearing these different voices. And Axel, go for it. All right. So next I see Carol and then Christopher.
Yeah. Was anybody else pissed off at Robbie? Because it's like he moved into your head and he's pounding you with the messaging that I have had for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe. It's like another online program. And then I would dash over and do that. But what I found is he really has listened to people. That's what really struck me. And it's like, have I truly listened to my primary clients? And yeah. So I loved it. And yet I couldn't write a review. I was too angry at myself. It's like, throw this book away, get it out of your thinking. But I couldn't. Now it's like, now I have to do something.
Wow, you know what? That is a great testimony.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it. This
Take
book
it.
might piss you off. I think it's fair warning to future readers.
It is.
And it may
Yeah.
make you, the cost of inaction will get too great and you'll have to go do something about it. Be fair warning.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Carol, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And then we see Christopher, and then maybe we'll move to the next question.
One of the things I took away from it is paying attention to what people are asking me about, why people are contacting me, what can I offer? Because what I thought I had the ability or problem solving skills in was not always what people contacted me for. So paying attention to what my customers or clients or people who contact me are telling me.
And just a point, Christopher, you may not know this, but I did an entire hour-long free masterclass a few years ago on the concept of discover your ideal client. And that replay is part of the Big Results Toolkit bonus content. So when you get the book, you'll see there's a link in there to download that. And that's one of the items in there. So if that really resonated with you, it's really just me walking you through the model a little bit. So just maybe it'll get you in your head a little differently and you can think about it for yourself. But yeah, I love that you're paying attention now to what people around you are asking you for, the people you're already serving in some way, providing support, guidance, maybe service. So congratulations. Mary,
Yeah.
what is the next question?
I just have to say, those are some amazing answers. And just a reminder, we're all here because we're part of the book launch team. So, part of the reason we're doing this book club discussion is that if you haven't gotten through it or you're not sure what to put in a review, this is a way for you to also process that so you can figure out what you want to contribute. So with that, it sets us up perfectly for the next question, which you've been prompted in the chat already to talk about what are some of your goals. So when you read about Robbie's business growth, which is a huge part of how this book came to be, in what ways did it help you see possibilities in your own potential? It gets you from the doing into recognizing, how you're going to grow through your own business journey. And Chris, sweet Chris, has her hand raised. Hi.
Yes, she does. I raised it a little bit late because this actually relates to what Christopher was saying and Robbie's response to Christopher, because I'm one of those who reads the book from the back to the front. And so I immediately scrolled all the way down to the amazing toolkit, and I absolutely loved it. So just, double thumbs up. There's such substance in that extra resource, and that's where I started. So I'm just kind of reading backwards, but it's very powerful, and analyzing the problem language is first tool in the toolkit.
Yes. Yeah. So there's the Discover Your Ideal Client Masterclass replay. There's the Wake Up Your Network workbook. Then the Analyze Your Problem Language workbook. And then there's 3 other resources. One has a list of all the books that are mentioned in the book. Another is how to use a scheduling software. if you're not familiar with Schedule Once and Calendly and Acuity. And the last is how to spend the 4 weeks in between your 12-week sprints. So we wanted to give you something that you could print out, put up on a wall, and reference really easily. So yes, this is definitely a book about taking action. So I want to hear more about these actions that people are going to take. The question, if I'm just going to see what the question was, what are some of your own goals? When you read about my business growth, in what ways did it help you see possibilities in your own potential? So who wants to raise their hand and jump in on that? Gina, come on in.
Hey, okay, so I have, what I've realized is that I just read that today, again, that part about the sprints, and I've never been much of a competitor, but I ran over to my whiteboard, erased everything on it, all that I had of the kids stuff and the list and the groceries and I made a section for, the 12 weeks. I ran actually first the calendar, counted, and I was like, oh my God, we've 12 weeks to the end of the year. So that motivated me to look at what is feasible, what can I do, what feels uncomfortable. So I wrote a really easy, super successful, I can do it goal, and then one that's a little bit, and then one that scares me, kind of clenches your butt cheeks a little bit. So I'd never done that before. So thank you very much.
And I want to say that while, Gina, it is 12 weeks to the end of the year, I want to also give you some grace here, because this quarter of the year is really only half a quarter. And it's probably best for you to acknowledge it. So when I work with people around goal setting and we're getting close to the end of the year, everyone tells me, I'm going to use the last 3 months to complete everything that I started in the last year. And that's so unrealistic, because the holidays, the last 6 weeks of these 12 weeks are going to be interrupted regularly by holidays. So you kind of have up until about the third, maybe week of November, and then you're going to be getting prepped and getting ready to go, and you're going to be traveling, and you're going to come back, and maybe you have 2 weeks in December, and then it's holidays. So it's just a very disruptive kind of time. So, you might move the one that clutches your butt cheeks. You might be doing things that sets you up for doing that in more depth the next sprint. So you might want to think about, what is the minor goal? What is the next steps that you can take to set yourself up to do that bigger, scary, more audacious goal in the next part? And then of course, the 4 weeks in between that I write about, that's just really important downtime. I used to be really into quarterly goal setting, but there's never any downtime when you do quarterly goals. It's just one quarter, done, next quarter. And so, yeah, I love that Gina's also capturing notes for us.
I love it. Can I suggest a woo-woo thing here? I personally, I love the fourth quarter of the year because of the holidays. Like Robbie was saying, it can interrupt you. And there's a really genius thing about that. It can help you from overthinking your stuff. It can keep you moving, keep you in flow. Some people might look at those stops as oh no, I'm being stopped. But what if it's stopping you from overthinking it? So you can continue taking action and doing things. So that reframe can be really powerful. So I would suggest that for you, Gina. I think that would be really powerful for you.
I also saw a note in here from chat from Diane about taking 6 weeks off. I'm going to just tell you the truth. I, say it yourself, I am the arbiter of my own schedule. I am the arbiter of my own schedule. My boss is an ass. So seriously, part of why I started doing these 12-week sprints is that I finally had 3 full weeks blocked on my calendar. I could look ahead and know. And if I needed to shift, December landed the second week of December, which didn't make sense for me, clearly. So I just shifted to the last week of December. I have the flexibility. I am the arbiter of my own schedule. So when I'm running around telling people how I'm so busy, that's my fault. And I didn't become an entrepreneur for the freedom to work 100 hours a week. So I'm still struggling with that. I still work more hours than I'd like to, but that is a goal to have, is how to punctuate time off. And yeah, why shouldn't we be having a goal of getting the last 6 weeks of the year off? That sounds like a wonderful life goal that you should be able to accomplish. All right. I am Thank you, Jen, for capturing that. I also let's hop into the next question, because I feel like these questions will kind of morph a little bit into each other, and maybe this
They
one will
do.
trigger some ideas from people.
Well, I think this is really great because we're talking about doing things. So the third question is, what step in Robbie's book, everything's step by step, you follow the formula. What step did you find yourself mentally or emotionally avoiding? It's always a good one. And then how did the accompanying client story help you stay connected to the lesson? Because when something gets hard and we're like, oh, I don't want to do it, we'll tend to back away. But Robbie brings you back in with a client story so you can see somebody else broke through this bottleneck and this is how they did it. So did anybody have an experience that was kind of like that?
I see
Nicole.
Nicole. Excellent.
Yeah, I just hate dumping clients, but I know I have to. And that prompt was really good to try to just look at the bottom 30%. Mercury's in retrograde. I got 5 help emails of stuff that was randomly breaking on people's websites today. And I'm just like, it just kills my soul. I love helping them, but it kills my soul. So yeah, I don't want to do that because I'm worried they're not going to find the help, but they'll find somebody. It doesn't have to be me.
You might want to look in your own network for those people that you can refer to who would be so thrilled to take on those clients. And maybe they get clients that you could better serve. It's sort of like an editor and a ghostwriter. Like an editor keeps getting asked, oh, do you write, can you help me ghostwrite my book? It's like, no, but here's the person who could, and vice versa. I think one way to get clear on who you do serve is to get clear on who you don't want to serve as much, if not like at all. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
It's clear. I just haven't wanted to do it, but I get that I have to.
Awesome. All right, who else wants to answer this question about what do you find yourself mentally or emotionally avoiding? These are good questions, Mary. You must be like a trained librarian or something.
What? Oh, I think we have Bill next. Hi, Bill.
All right.
Hi, you've already gotten my critique, which is not the glowing review I'm writing for online. I found myself reading that one section about going through your LinkedIn contacts and partying with, oh, I don't want it. That's not what I felt myself saying, I don't want to do that, while my brain is saying, that's a really good thing to do. You should definitely do that. So I simply acknowledge the ambivalence.
Yeah. I hear that. Is it for you spreadsheets? Because I've heard from some people that they just really resist spreadsheets. It's been a fear.
It's not the spreadsheets, it's the people part of it. Like, I'm ready to do that with people. I have to force myself. And
Wow.
Having it written down helps me force myself.
Awesome. Thank you. I see we got more hands here. Thank you, Bill. Mary, who
I think up next we had Amanda, and then after Amanda's Deborah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so for me, there wasn't really one thing in particular that stood out as, oh, I don't want to do that. But the benefit for me was being aware of how I felt when I didn't want to do something. So when something in the book was prompting me, the reaction that I had kind of inside was, well, I'm not that kind of a person, which is what I thought of when Bill was talking around the LinkedIn contacts, or like, I'm just not that pushy or whatever. And just being able to identify those triggers for myself of what does it mean if I actually take the action step, and what it does or doesn't say about me, and how can I reframe this so that I can move forward anyways.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. Next, we're going to hear from Deborah and then Dawn. Thank you.
Hi. So I wanted to respond to Bill's comment too about, the challenge of going through my LinkedIn. And, I had people on there that I've known for, 30 years, and I probably haven't talked to them in 30 years because they were my neighbor's daughter's brother's friend. And, so it's like they really weren't contacts, but the idea of taking them off the list. And I finally had to start thinking in terms of the way that I think it was Lauren was just saying is, changing my mindset that by doing this, I was opening up the possibility for new people to come in. So I didn't have enough space in my list in my head to accommodate all of the new people that I wanted to build relationships with. So, you know, I think about the chapter on mindset, and that's so much of what this is all about, is like getting myself to think differently about what I'm doing. I'm not, you know, hustling to find business. I'm actually building relationships so that I can do something that will be of benefit to them.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for your observation. Dawn.
Hi, everybody. Robbie, I really enjoyed the book. I read it the last couple of days, and I did feel like you were talking to me, 50-something woman, business entrepreneur. You got in my head here, but I was thinking that the part that was the most intimidating to me was the surveying. I already downloaded my LinkedIn list. I've already drafted up the spreadsheet. But when I looked at it, I'm like, oi, I have 3,500 contacts to look through. This is going to take me a while. So I've got to figure out a way to simplify that for myself. But probably the surveying part is the most intimidating.
Yeah, not Dawn, just a couple of notes on that. So once you have that list of 3,500 people, the first pass through is to just put an X in the column if you think they'd remember your name, and if you'd be happy to hear from out of the blue. So that will shrink it down to, let's say, 300 people. So
Okay.
that's even a lot of people, right? So let's say 200, 300 people. And now is you get to do the other columns, which is their connection to you, their influence in the world, and their interest in whatever you are currently hoping to talk about. And based on your answers, and these should be quick. Not like, when I say influence, I don't mean go research them. I just mean like your gut reaction is, if they like what you're doing, could they influence other people to check out what you're doing?
Okay.
My mother could make an introduction to an amazing connection, but she wouldn't like have a platform to share it with the world, right? So my mother's influence is not as great as someone who has like a following or a group coaching program or a podcast or something. And now you've got maybe a list of, I don't know, it could be like 60 people. And now you have to pick 20 or so, 15, 25 that you're going to reach out to in the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
And even that is based on gut. Who do you think would be the quickest to respond? Who are you most looking forward to talking to? So it's about moving through this kind of quickly. And what you might want to do is a Pomodoro method, where you set a timer for 15 minutes and you chunk it. You get through as much of that first step as possible. You decide whether you need to take a break or whether you want to do it for another 15 minutes, and then you do it again, and then you step away and you come back to it. The part that I think will take more time is when you get down to picking your 20 or so people to talk to.
Okay.
But the people I've worked with have all resisted doing this, have all resisted gathering the problem language, and the ones who've done it have all been grateful that they've done it. And it's changed the direction of what they were going to build, and it's led to a fabulous outcome. So I didn't say it was fun, but it will save you so much time. I think that we don't realize how much time we are spending doing it the other way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, I see Monica's got a hand up here.
Well, hello. I just wanted to build on what Dawn was saying, and to go back to one of Mary's previous comments, kind of falling into the woo bucket. So I had the pleasure of doing the Wake Up Your Network exercise in a group, right, with you, Robbie. And what I found after I did that exercise is that people that I recalled would be so interesting to connect with just started randomly contacting me. So there's this like lovely flow, right? When you're starting to get focused and that you have a certain desire as to who you would like to be hanging out with. And then it just kind of comes in on its own natural timing. So thank you for getting that ball rolling. Really appreciate it, Robbie.
And thank you for bringing up the pop-up masterminds, because I'm actually going to be doing more of them. And the pop-up mastermind, I'm just going to drop a link in here, because I could have given this to you ahead of time, Jen, pop-up app. So these are a one-time 2-hour session with me and up to 7 other entrepreneurs. And the pre-work is to go through just the Wake Up Your Network exercise, not also the analysis, but just getting through that first step and then coming to the call and asking your questions about, what do I do with this list? How do I follow up? What's the email supposed to be? What's the follow-up sequence? Like, what do I say in these meetings? How is it different if I'm talking to a likely prospect versus a likely whatever? So the next dates are set for November 8th and 9th. There are 3 time options. It's $100. So, part of the reason I'm charging is to have you make sure you have a little skin in the game. So if you've been thinking, this is something I think I should do, well, having a deadline, having a group of people who are going to help you talk through it, having me explain things. I will verbatim give you scripts and things to say to help you make this a useful resource. So every month I'm going to have new dates pop up for that, the pop-up masterminds. And Monica, thank you for bringing that up. Look at that. Jen wrote something up on the fly. Let's grab the next question here, Mary.
Okay, this is getting juicy. All right, so now that we've looked at the things we want to back away from, let's go to our happy places. So which step felt more familiar and inviting to you? And how can you bring more of that into your goals? Because sometimes we think, oh, it's so easy. Maybe that's too easy, but maybe that's one of your like power suits. Maybe that's one of the things that you're really good at. So who found something, a step was really inviting, it felt good to you?
Might be something you're already doing. You're like, wow, look at that. I'm already doing that.
It's like the really obvious stuff, like you're just good at it. And sometimes getting that reflection in a book makes you go, oh, wait a minute. I am really good at that thing.
It's a juicy question. Oh, Lisa hopped up. Lisa, come on in.
It's something a little bit different than what most of the people have been talking about. But what really was a big aha for me was how you paused your book launch and you used your network of the NSA. And I was like, oh, why did I not? I have 30 books published. And it's like, So I was looking at it going, that feels, because I have a lot of colleagues, I have a lot of friends, and inviting them onto a launch sounds so natural and so easy, and something that I completely have missed and look forward to doing in the future.
Yeah, and you would be so good at it. I mean, you have the network for it. That's great. That's great. I see Sarah has also raised her hand.
Hello. 2 key points for me, or next steps or highlights. One was stacking my goals. And I do that already, but not as efficiently as you have done. So just as I look ahead, I'm in strategic planning now for my 2022 and looking at how I could use the stacking of the goals, and also updating the website content. So I did a big update earlier this year to push out that I support LGBTQ leaders and allies. And so even just that little addition has made a huge difference, but looking to continue to update things and really focusing on those particular niches. So thanks, Robbie.
Absolutely, Sarah. And I love that you're bringing up the stacking your successes, stacking your goals. If we try to move everything forward at once, we're going to move everything forward 1 inch at a time, right? So you could this is why I love the 12-week sprint. You could really focus on getting to the finish line. And if you don't succeed, you get to really understand, wait, this isn't working. Why is this not working? And stop and reflect before you kind of just push it down the road, kicking the can. And that's why we end up with trouble when we get to the end of the calendar year. If we haven't been doing sprints, we just end up with a pile of cans that we've been kicking down the road. And you're not sure which one of these is actually a viable thing. Should I finish this one or this one or this one? And I think that overwhelm can also cause some inaction. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I saw in chat that we also had, so someone else had also raised that. Oh, Amanda is saying the same thing, strategic stacking successes. Monica elected as well. So love it. I love it that you guys, Annie's, I felt hugely convicted of trying to kick a pile of cans. Awesome. All right, we've got a couple more questions and about 20 minutes to get through them. So there's 2 more questions in here. What is the next question, Mary?
Okay, so building upon this idea, I love that Sarah set that up brilliantly. What's one surprising thing you discovered in this book and had not considered previously? There might be a few things, but there's always one that like really pops out. What's that one thing that really made you sit up and go, aha, that aha moment?
While we're waiting for hands to go up, I see that Nicole is giving some love to Jen for her emoji game. Jen's
Yeah, I
here
love
on
it.
the emoji game. Simonia is gonna pop up here, and folks, I want to encourage others to raise their hand as well. Simonia, come join us.
Hey there, sorry guys, my video's not working great today. But one of the things that I loved about the book was, of course, it reminded you of the things, the sort of the simple truths, you know, sort of the whole thing, like what goes up must come down. And so when he shared the story about Linda and Sarah and about the one client, they were both on this path of the podcast. And by getting more clear, I think it was Sarah maybe that had to focus in on her community that she was building. And instead of the podcast, she could do Facebook Lives. And so for me, it was just a reminder that, oh, you thought you were going to do it this way, but don't close off the idea that you don't want to be a radio host. Like, you should be nurturing your community through Facebook Live. That was Simonia, because that was Robbie stepping on my feet. So it was those kind of reminders of like, okay, you don't have to try to do everything all at one time. Just focus on that one big audacious thing and do that very well. So message received.
Yeah. Thank you. I also really appreciate you bringing up that that storyline. I while I was writing the book, I gave the characters a name that had the same initial as the people who actually have those names in real life. And then the last minute, I created all entirely new names. So for a moment, I was like, who's who and what's what? But you're right. It was Linda and Sarah. And one of them went on to launch a podcast.
So Sarah was Simonia, and then you said, no, okay, it wasn't me, but it could have been.
And so, and the other person, you know, like they both came in super excited about this like idea of a podcast. But if you are focusing on a podcast, that's going to take tension away from something else. And that something else for Sarah was a new and starting to be thriving Facebook group, a new, like just becoming like a viable Facebook group that required a lot of attention. And if she took her eye off that Facebook group and stopped nurturing that Facebook group, she'd have to start over again because the Facebook algorithm would just basically kill that group. So instead, she put lots of content in. She also dropped in lots of freebie like gifts that converted people to her own email list. She interviewed people in that Facebook group by doing Facebook Lives. I mean, it all like led to a much stronger outcome. And the podcast is still a possibility for her. But by the time she launches the podcast, she'll have a community that's waiting for the podcast. Like, she's building the audience for whatever she creates next, which could be a paid offer, which is a podcast, whatever it is. So I just think, like, again, eye on the ball, build your audience before you create your offer.
You know, I love that. There's a comment in the chat from Amanda about not being new per se, but that the ideal client model is the gift that keeps on giving, new ahas every time I look at it. And I like this point a lot because when we read books, especially business books, sometimes we'll blast through the book and then pick up the next one and the next one. And it feels like we're just like eating popcorn, book popcorn. And the thing is, you know, a book like this that Robbie's done for you is something that you can revisit. You know, there are golden nuggets in there. And as you get better on your business journey, they take on new meaning. So I think that's a really great comment that came out. Joan's got her hand raised.
Joan's got her hand up, and while we're having Joan, welcome Joan. I just want to say Gina's being funny in chat, so you got to check out what she's writing about. So we have Joan, and then Mubarak is up next. Joan, welcome.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, well, I really enjoyed the book too. And I come from an academic background, so it's a little bit different, the language and the, you know, just the framing of some of these issues. And of course, as a teacher in colleges, I didn't have to go out and find the students, you know, they just signed up for my course. So now that I'm trying to do this online, I did collect email addresses along the way as I gave workshops here and there. And I've been sending out monthly writing challenges through Constant Contact and that kind of stuff. So I still am in touch with a lot of my former students. But one of the things that I liked about your book was sort of exploring this idea of how much do you give away and how much do you save, you know, because I tended to, for example, I love your idea of the coffee hour, or you talked about meeting some of your clients at a coffee shop and that kind of stuff. And those are the kinds of students I have, just very homey people that are writing their memoirs and stuff. So the whole idea of coffee works really well with them. But then it's really easy for me to end up, helping them solve their problems and everything in that context and never getting paid for it, right? So I liked your ideas, about that, of holding some back, or, actually I would like even more about that, how to
Sure.
kind of dangle what you have to offer, without it sounding like you're withholding, like they're like, well, why don't you just tell me right now?
Well, there's a couple of things, Joan, that I'll
Yeah.
say, and thank you for bringing this up. One is, if you can solve someone's problem in an hour-long conversation, then they're not your ideal client. If you solved what they think is their big problem, but you know that there's a much bigger issue going on, but you don't help them realize by the end of the hour or end of the half hour that they're like, yes, you've got these little P problems, these little symptoms, and we can talk about that. But knowing how to copy and paste is not what's stopping you from writing your book. Yeah. So, but if you can't help them realize like there's more, like they need to leave that conversation feeling a little unsettled, a little unclear, and a little curious maybe about what else they should know, and be willing then to come back to you, and you can give them like 1 or 2 action steps. The other thing, I had another thought on this, and I'll have to come back to it because now I think I've just lost my train of thought. But I do think that how much we give away could be also just as long as it's leading people to go from small P problem aware to big P problem aware. If our free content helps them make that shift and continues to draw them in, then I think it could be worthwhile. For instance, I do free masterclasses. I have a whole bunch on my website, robbiesamuels.com/masterclass. I don't even know how many I have, 8 or 9 or 10. That's all content at some point I did live, and those replays are all there as opt-ins. So I don't have to have a conversation with someone about, how do you launch a podcast or how do you launch your book? Like it's all in there. But it's also educating them about the bigger problem and enticing them to like reach out to me. So that's another way to think about this.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't want to hog the mic, so I'll just, in a quick response to what you just said, I think that's great, asking the bigger question, and it figures when people are writing their memoirs, which is what I kind of, that my area of expertise, is to get them to, lead them to the bigger question, which is their values that they want to pass on. They don't just want to pass on that, they fought in Vietnam, or that, which is an incredible thing, or that they raised 10 kids or whatever it was. That's a fact. But then what they really want to go is deeper. And so what about that experience do you want to pass on? And so if you can get them just to go deeper and deeper, not just the what, but the why, then as it becomes a much bigger project, and not one that they're going to solve by Christmas, but that's going to take a year or 2.
And this is where you help them realize they actually do need your help, because if it's just a matter of documenting what they did, they can do that on their own. But if they want to shape into something where they're sharing their values, that's where having someone coaching them would really be helpful. It's a good example of, I think people think they can just solve things on their own. Oh, just answer this quick thing for me, I'll do the rest. First of all, if that's really true, they're not your ideal client. But if they're just, kidding themselves about the bigger picture, then our job is to illustrate that in some way. Thank you very much, Joan. We're gonna now, Mubarak is here on the line. Mubarak, welcome.
Hi, good evening and namaste to all. I'm Mubarak Ali. First of all, thanks, Robin, and my fellow participants, thanks for your invaluable insights. How to say no, this book is not for an entrepreneur or someone, sir. This book, every budding manager, a person who wants to take forward in his life, in his career, he should have to read this book. The 5 contents. My voice is audible now?
Sorry, that last part?
I think my voice is audible now. Are you hearing my voice?
Oh, I'm totally hearing you. Yep.
yeah, this book is not for an entrepreneur, sir. This book should have to, everyone should have to carry. In case every budding manager should have to read this book. Okay, the 5 content, what to say, is a world-class one, sir. Take an example of mindset, speaking your, stacking your success, engaging your network, taking lead, and getting support. The simple things, it will motivate the budding managers. So as well as one who want to take forward in career into the leap, no, everyone should have to take care of this book, sir. I'm not to read the book fully, sir. I be the person to read out the preface and the content, because I need to go for the deep diving at the weekend, because due to for my workload, my busy commitments, everything, so I couldn't able to read the book. But what I grasped, I'm just sharing my views with you, sir. Stacking your success. This is my boss will always advise me, you just pointed out in the book, overnight success, 10 years in the making. I'm just repeating the words, sir. Because it's written by you, I'm just repeating to yourself also. Overnight success in 10 years in the making. Recently, one of the consultants will come to my office. I'm just working for Hindustan Unilever Limited, Unilever. They will come and do the presentations. 1 hour, he charges for so and so lakhs. We just asked the boss, this guy is done in just in 16 minutes of presentation, we charge lakhs of rupees. Then my boss told Mubarak, is not a charge for one hour or 16 minutes, Mubarak. What the entire decade has learned, he's just sharing his experience and exposures. That's why he got paid too much of things, he just conveys, sir. Okay, and then I like the word, sir. And then I like the word you. I recently watched your podcast also, sir, with network in sleepy futures. How to say, I need to go for the deep dive into also, sir, from Cadras Radar. Okay.
Did you have a question before we dive
just
further?
I'm having one question, sir. I'm having one question, sir. Nobody cares about how. They cares about your why. Will you just narrate it, please?
That's a great one. Thank you for bringing that up, Mubarak. So the how piece.
And thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. The how piece is something we get really tied to as entrepreneurs. We love our how, we love our process, we love our IP, we love our steps, our 7 steps, right? And honestly, no one cares. Not until they know that you can help them achieve that outcome. Until they believe that you can help them achieve the outcome that they want, then they'll be open to hearing about your how. So if I was working with Mary and I was like, Mary, here's what you're trying to achieve. Here's how I'd help you do it. And she's like, that's what I want. And she's, how do I do that? I'm like, jump on a pogo stick 5 times. She'd be like, where's the pogo stick? Right. So if we just run around town with pogo sticks trying to entice people to jump on them 5 times, everyone's gonna look at us like we're cockeyed. What? No, I don't need that, because it's a complete mismatch from what they think they need. And there's a story in the book about the anti-itch cream, right? And the bulldozer. And too often we're running around with bulldozers trying to tell people to buy the final solution. This is going to solve everything. And people are like, I'm just the market for some anti-itch cream. So I just think that this is where having conversations with people will help us better understand what people are looking for and stop being so tied to the how, because the end result might not be the online course you were envisioning. It might be that you send a daily text message 5 days a week to help people get their writing done, right? It really, you don't know what is going to be the how until you learn from people what they're looking for and what they're open to. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic back to Mary. We have about 5 minutes with Mary, and we have one more question, and then I'll close things out. So Mary, what is our final question? Thank you, everybody.
We do have a question. So this is a little bit more self-reflective. I think everybody can just, write this down for yourselves. There's 4 parts to it, because this book is all about doing. And our goal here on the book launch team is to do something this week, which is to pop in your review for the book as part of the book launch team. So when you're thinking about how you're going to take action as a result of this book in your own business, your own business resource toolbox, write down what's an action that you can take today, what's an action that you can take this week, what's an action that you can take this month. And the 4th one is, because we're in the 4th quarter and we've already talked a little bit about the coming year, what's an action that you can take in the coming year? The goal stacking was a real favorite here today. This is a great way to start getting into that mindset, into that framework. And while you are starting to ideate on that, I can pass this back to Robbie, because I know that there are some master classes coming up, and we want to make sure
Oh
that you all have the
yeah.
information for things.
Right, because you're all in the know. So thank you, first of all, Mary, for bringing this together. You suggested it. I'm so glad we had this format. I love hearing from people about what's resonating. As a content creator, it's a very isolating, solitary type of job where you just kind of get the ideas out of your own head. It's so lovely to start to hear how this is actually resonating with people, how it's helping them, how it's stumping them, whatever the case may be. And so thank you for creating this space for us, Mary. And for the rest of you, what I'm going to do is one is underscore this last question. I dropped the entire question into chat because I really want you to think about what action you're going to take. And there's the today action, this week action, this month action, and the coming year action. And this is a very interesting time of year to have this conversation. We are 12 weeks to the end of the year. We're starting to now look about 2022 and start to do the ideating about what that's going to look like. Where do we want to be in 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? So the book, I think, will get you started. If you want to be in a community of people, like really kind of talking about this and learning more details from me that were not in the book, then that is where the pop-up mastermind is so helpful. It's just a $100 investment. And I will just say that there were some things that I described the fruit, but I did not give you the fruit. That was from earlier, Joan. That was a point that I was trying to make earlier, but I forgot what I was going to say. But there are moments in the book where I say, and then you should write a short email and then, go back and edit it and make it shorter than that. I can give you more verbatim of what to put in the email and how to structure the email. So I described it, but I did not give it to you. And that is sort of an example of something. I didn't, for instance, write about pop-up masterminds as a possibility in the book, but it's, to me, the best thing I've done so far. I love these. I love them as research. I love them as creating community. I love them as a way to like help people move forward and actually make progress, because it's not enough to write a book, not enough to have people read a book. You want people to take action on the book. There's going to be 3 free masterclasses 2 weeks after the ebook launches. The ebook officially launches October 31st. So mid-November, November 12th, 13th, and 14th at 2 o'clock Eastern, there will be 3 free masterclasses. And I'm going to be teaching content from the book. I'm going to be teaching some things that maybe aren't even in the book. And it is all towards an ask. And so I'll just let you all know now, I'm fully transparent about this. I have a year-long program called the Wake Up Your Network program that launches next year. It's 10 months of masterminds with at least 2 one-on-one coaching calls, one at the beginning, one at the end, an additional if you sign up early. And the idea is to gather people who are ready to implement the strategies in the book. So you'll know that this is right for you because you're no longer stuck in symptom aware. You're fully aware of the bigger problem. You now realize the solution. You literally have a book that describes the solution. You also realize your own limitations of getting this done by yourself. You realize that I could be your guide. And lastly, you're now aware, meaning the cost of inaction is too great. You don't want to delay. You don't want to put this off. You don't want to get it wrong. You don't want to waste your time. So investing in yourself and in your business to get this done, to really learn a repeatable process that will help you go from idea to pilot to a paid program that is thriving. I can't promise you that your first idea is going to work. I'm going to teach you a process, though, that will get you not wasting time and moving through ideas quickly and finding an audience before you create the offer. So that is the full program that's happening. People who sign up this fall are going to get additional one-on-one calls with me. It kicks off in February. And with that, there's also going to be, I guess the final thing is there is a launch team debrief call that we have not yet scheduled that will be taking place in December. And if you are a person who's here because you're interested in the launch process, one, I already did a masterclass about my book launch process for my first book. And you can find it by going to robbiesamuels.com/masterclass. And 2, you're invited to come to our team debrief. It's going to be me, Mary, and my assistant, Paya, talking about what we did, what worked, what we wish we had done differently. And you can learn from us and apply it to whatever you're launching, book, podcast, program, etc., because these processes are all very similar. There was a question in chat earlier from Axel, which I believe Jen answered very thoroughly, which is, where do you put your reviews? The reviews get posted on the Google form. And I had someone ask me, like, how is it work to post my independent review to you? I'm not editing your review. I mean, okay, I have put in a couple of fixes. Samuel's is Samuel's S apostrophe. I fixed that from a few people. But other than that, it's your review. What I am doing is holding the review and then giving it back to you when it's time to post it on Amazon and Goodreads. And I will tell you the reason for this. It's a priority for me that these reviews get posted, but I know that it's not your top priority. And so I need to hold you through the process. And if I could separate out you writing the review from you posting it, it will help you get it done. You set the intention to do it. I want to make sure you actually get it done. It'll make us both feel great. If you don't follow through, it'll make you feel kind of crappy and me feel like, oh, what happened there? So I think getting the review written by answering a couple of prompts, which I've already given you or Mary's given you via email, that will help you. And then, you know, we'll get back to you and tell you, like, here's how you actually post it in these places. So thank you for those of you. We've got about 30 reviews already in, which is amazing. We have 300 and I think 20 some odd people on the launch team, and we want more people. So one of the things, oh, and Sheila already mentioned, this is great. By the way, the Venn diagram is fixed. Thank you to all the people who pointed it out to me, you eagle-eyed people. I think that I'm actually really glad that that I had this mistake, because, and by the way, the link for the book launch to share with your friends is right there in chat. I'm glad I had this mistake. I redid the Venn diagram last minute because I didn't have the original file and it didn't look right. And I had to redo it to make it a cleaner graphic. And I was rushing and I didn't double check that it was done right. But everyone who reached out to me about an error, that was the error they had. And one other person told me about a missing period. So I'm feeling pretty good about about how things are going.
Robbie,
Jen's back on.
We've got 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure that you answer Diane Bennett, who's asking if there is a deadline for the review.
Thank you, Jen. Diane, we're asking for everyone to write the review and send to us via Google form by this Friday. If that's not possible for any number of reasons, don't sweat it. That's just the first deadline I'm going to push you towards. And it's because, again, I'm moving people towards getting it done. So if you get it done by this Friday, then I will reach back out to you next week about posting on Amazon, and it's going to be awesome. If next Wednesday is a better deadline for you because of your life, use Wednesday as a deadline. But I'm partly giving you these deadlines because I know we want people to take action. The absolute deadline of getting it posted on Amazon, not to us, but to Amazon, is October 30th. Right now, when I send you the link to post, the book is 99 cents. The book will be free on Sunday the 31st and on November 1st. So if anyone is not willing or able to pay 99 cents for the book, then you will wait to the 31st to buy the book for $0 and then post a review. That way it's a verified purchase. So whenever you post a review on Amazon, it's really important that you do download the book from Amazon so that it's a verified purchase review. Those get weighted more heavily with Amazon's algorithm. So it's 99 cents when you get access to it early, and then it'll be free for 2 days, and then 99 cents for a whole week during the actual launch part. And with your help, I think we're going to easily hit 100 reviews by Sunday the 31st. And that makes me just really, really happy to think when other people see it, it's going to just take the action. Yes, there are deadlines, and then there are absolute deadlines. I'm a planner. I have internal deadlines and external deadlines, and then, you know, there's layers. Thank you so much for being here. We have now hit the top of the hour. I'm going to save this replay. Let's say goodbye to all the people who are on the replay. Bye, everybody who are watching the replay. And